So I'll quickly give you a second example because not every situation looks like growth or expansion. We often see established businesses that are profitable but seasonal. Revenue comes in waves depending on the time of year. So even during slower months, expenses stay consistent. So things like rent, payroll, insurance, and operating costs, those aren't slowing down just because revenue is. In situations like this, the business doesn't just need a large sum of capital. What they need is access, the ability to draw from something when needed and pay it down when revenue picks back up. And that's a very different need than funding growth or buying equipment. And it's another example of why matching the right type of tool to the situation matters so much. At a high level, there's a few common categories of business financing that most solutions fall into. Lines of credit are often used for flexibility and ongoing access. Term loans are typically structured for larger planned investments. Working capital solutions can help bridge short term timing gaps. Equipment financing is designed specifically for purchasing or upgrading equipment. And SBA backed loans can be a fit for certain long term needs depending on the business. The important thing to understand here is that none of these are good or bad. It just depends entirely on how well the category matches the need. One of the most confusing parts of exploring financing is getting different answers from different places. The reason for that is simple: requirements vary widely. Credit score is just one factor, and for some options, it's not even the most important one. Revenue and cash flow often matter just as much, if not more. Time and business can also play a role, depending on the type of solution and the provider. And ultimately, different providers prioritize different things. That's why a no in one place doesn't mean that there aren't viable options elsewhere. And this is exactly why access to multiple options matters so much. One of the biggest concerns that business owners might have is not knowing what they're stepping into. So, at a high level, here's what exploring options actually looks like. It starts with sharing some basic business information, so things that most of you already have and readily have available. From there, you're able to review options that are matched to your business profile. And that gives you the opportunity to ask questions, compare, and actually understand what's being presented instead of feeling rushed. And then you decide whether anything actually makes sense. There's no requirement to move forward. The goal again is clarity and control, not pressure. Speed is often one of the first questions that business owners ask, and it's an important one. The reality is that some options can move very quickly, especially when the need is short term and the documentation is straightforward. Other solutions take more time because they require additional documentation or deeper review, and that's not a bad thing when the situation does call for it. Timelines always depend on the type of need and the type of solution being explored. Our goal is never just speed for the sake of speed. It's about moving efficiently without sacrificing fit, clarity, or the long term health of the business. Another question that we hear all the time is: do I even qualify to explore options? In most cases, this approach is designed for established businesses across a wide range of industries. Consistent revenue matters more than perfection. This isn't about having flawless financials, it's about understanding the overall picture of the business. Time in business also plays a role, but many options are designed for businesses that have been operating for several months or more. And it's important to understand that this is about reviewing options, not guarantees. So, exploring possibilities helps owners understand where they stand and what might make sense now or in the future. Often, business owners are closer to qualifying than they realize. Another common concern is security and credit impact. So, let's address that directly. Your information is kept secure and confidential throughout the process. This is designed to protect your business data and not expose it. Exploring options uses a soft review to understand what may be available. That means there's no impact on your credit, just to see what options exist. And nothing happens automatically, and nothing moves forward at all without your involvement. You remain in control of every next step, including whether you move forward at all. This approach is meant to give clarity and peace of mind, not pressure. Last quick thing to think about before we start to wrap up here. What's usually your biggest hesitation when it comes to exploring financing? I can cover a few of the hesitations that people usually feel when considering exploring financing. So things like credit impact, pressure, or sales tactics, not understanding the terms, or having had a bad experience in the past. And every one of these is valid, and it's exactly why this approach focuses on clarity and control. What we usually hear most often is concern around credit impact, pressure, or not fully understanding the terms. Again, those are all valid. They're the reason this approach is designed to focus on clarity and control rather than urgency or pressure. Before we wrap up, I want to quickly walk through what happens after today. So, if you're wanting a recap, I'll provide on the next slide my direct email and a support email as well. So, you can shoot us an email directly. We're happy to send you a flyer, some additional information, or schedule a follow up call and answer any other questions that you might have. If you're interested, there will also be an optional opportunity to explore options further, but no obligation to do so. And honestly, even if today simply changes the way that you think about cash flow or financing strategy, then this webinar was worthwhile. The goal here is not to convince anyone to rush into a decision. It's to help business owners understand that there are more flexible and transparent ways to explore options than many people realize. And nothing changes just because you attended today. This is about giving you information and clarity, not pushing next steps. And if questions come up later, support is available. You don't have to make decisions in this moment. As we wrap up, the most important thing to remember is that there's no rush here. Take time to review anything that we covered today. Think about where your business is now and where you actually want it to go. If and when the timing feels right, you can explore options further or simply ask questions to better understand what's available to you. The goal is always to make the decision that's best for your business on your timeline. And finally, if you have questions or you want to follow up after today, we're always happy to help. I have provided my direct email there. You can reach me anytime. So it is rnoel at amppaymentsystems.com. We also have a support email, which is product sales at amppaymentsystems.com through our website on amppaymentsystems.com, or we have our support phone number there as well, which is 888-214-3068. There's no obligation and no pressure, whether you're exploring options now or just trying to plan ahead. Thank you again for spending time with us today. Um, I will go back through to see if there was any questions very quickly. Okay, Arturo. In transportation industry, how can I find capital? Arturo, I would suggest sending me a direct email. I'm happy to schedule a call with you or shoot you an email with a flyer or some additional information if you would like some assistance looking into that. More than happy to do so. Tony, is it a personal guarantee? It's based off of the business's information, if that's what you're asking. If you have a more specific question or that you want to discuss on a phone call or through email, I'm happy to do so. If you shoot me an email, we can go over more of the details as well. So that way you're fully understanding. Kimberly, main hesitation is doing all the work and having your credit pinged, and then you don't get the capital, and now you're behind in time and credit getting hit. Absolutely. That is something that we have conversations with business owners about all the time, actually. A lot of people that we have been able to help out have come from situations where they've had a horrible experience like that. They jumped through a lot of hoops to try and find out what was available for something that they needed, especially in a short time frame, and ended up in a bad situation where they weren't able to qualify for anything through that company or through that bank, and then just didn't have the options that they needed at that specific time. So again, with this, I do want to reiterate, with us and what we have, it's a soft credit pull, so it's not actually going to ding your credit or anything like that. The nice thing too is that you have a portal, so you have offers that are available to you and change over time. So if it's not something that you want to move forward with right now, you're looking, trying to check out options to plan ahead for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road. Things will kind of continue to change in there over time, depending on the health of the business, and revenue and things like that. Renee. Do you have suggestions for establishing credit as a business? Renee, absolutely. I would love to have a separate conversation with you about that. I feel like that would make more sense for us to talk about that outside of this webinar. I'm happy to schedule a call with you, or even email back and forth, whatever is preferable for you. If you could reach out to me at my direct email, we can have a separate conversation. But I do have some good things that I could go over with you to kind of help you with that. All right, it doesn't look like there was any other questions in the chat, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up here. I want to thank you guys all again for attending today. I appreciate everyone being on here. Layla, thank you so much as well.
Thank you so much for that informative presentation. We really enjoyed it. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be available on demand within 24 hours on smallbusinessuniversity.online. Please remember to frequently check out our webinar schedule on smallbusinessuniversity.online for other great weekly business building webinars. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.